guys, Becky here with Design Bundles, and I'm super excited to have you join me today because of course we have another fabulous tutorial for Silhouette Studio. Now this time we are teaching you the difference between flipping, mirroring, doing it yourself, and allowing the software to do it for you. So this is one you don't want to miss. Alright guys, so here we are in Silhouette Studio, and of course I have a really cute design. I actually grabbed these St. Patrick's Day gnomes from the Design Bundles free resources, so I was really excited because I am definitely a gnome fanatic, and then I just added a little bit of text from some fonts that I've purchased from them before too. So really cute design, but today we are here not to talk about the gnomes, but to talk about mirroring and flipping and all the things that are related to doing that, okay? So when we talk about mirroring, mirroring is most commonly thrown around when you're working with heat transfer vinyl, because everybody will say, don't forget to mirror your design, don't forget you mirror your design with HTV, don't forget you have to mirror it before you cut it. And there is an option for mirroring. Let me show you. It is under your replicate panel over here. It looks like some little ovals spinning. All right, so I guess it's pretty accurate representation. If you struggle with the icons, don't forget you do have the panels menu up here, and you can go down to replicate. So what you do when you mirror is down here under the, we'll say the second half, under the second replicate submenu, is you have mirroring. You can mirror below, you can mirror above, mirror left, and mirror right. So all of those give you an exact mirror copy of your design. Now that is, you know, I think that's why people talk about mirroring. This is exactly what I used to do. Okay, I would keep one copy over here, and so I would move this off to the side, and I would move my mirrored copy, and then this is how I would cut. And just a little bit of history for those of you who are new to the Silhouette world. Silhouette Studio, you used to always have to mirror yourself. Okay, now those of you that are new to Silhouette, you know that when you go to cut HTV, it will ask you if you want to mirror it. So we're going to talk about both ways, but this is the basis of don't forget to mirror your design, because we used to always have to remember to do it ourselves, and mirroring is the option that most people used. Now, let me show you a shortcut. Let's put this back on the mat. Now, we still call it mirroring, but there's actually a shortcut menu. If you right-click on your design, you can flip horizontally. And it does the exact same thing, and I'll be honest with you guys, it's a lot easier. I didn't have to access a menu, I didn't have to do anything. I just right-click and flip it, and it flips it. Now, for the purposes of using HTV, you can actually flip it either way. Let me show you why. If I flip it vertically, watch what happens when I rotate that around. It still flips. And it's basically the text is the main part that you're worried about. This gnome design is actually pretty symmetrical. Like, it wouldn't be the end of the world if you forgot to mirror the gnome design. But if you forgot to mirror the text and you go to press it, well then obviously you're going to have backwards text. And that's not fun for anybody. Okay, so you can mirror it either way, but most commonly we're talking about doing the flip horizontally. All right, if you go to cut heat transfer vinyl and you just have it normal. Now, let me just say, your software does not know what's normal and what's flipped. So it's normal. I'm going to select heat transfer vinyl from my list. Let's do some glitter. Okay. So heat transfer vinyl, it's going to detect that I am cutting with a ratchet blade. That's fine. But watch what happens if I hit send. It's going to pop up and ask, do you want to send it mirrored? Do you want the design software to mirror it for you, or have you already mirrored it? And then you can choose send mirrored, or you can choose send as is. Obviously, if I've already mirrored it myself, which is normally what I do because I have been using Silhouette for a while and I'm just in the habit to know that I need to mirror it myself, I can just hit send as is, and it will send it to my Cameo just like I have it on the mat. Now, if I want to take advantage of using the Send Mirrored, then Silhouette Studio will mirror this design for me. There are a few catches that we're going to go over, but for this design in particular that I have on the screen, I can hit Send Mirrored and everything would be fine. So I'm not going to do that. Let's back up a little bit. Let's go back to design. And let's say my design is this size. I'm going to hit Send. And I decide that I want Silhouette Studio to mirror this design for me. Okay. Now, it is not in the business of mirroring the design as much as it is mirroring the entire project. So what that means is that this design that is in the left-hand corner is going to flip my entire 12 by 12 cutting area. And all of a sudden, my design is going to cut over here on the right-hand side mirrored. Because if I mirror this entire sheet, it's going to flip the design to the opposite corner. Now, if I'm cutting on a 12 by 12 sheet of heat transfer vinyl, that does not bother me. If I'm cutting on a 6 by 6 piece of heat transfer vinyl, that could potentially bother me because if I think it's going to cut over here on the left-hand side, then that's where I'm going to put my material. So the way to, I'm going to say get around that, that's not what I mean. The way to make sure that you don't have that problem is to always, and I stress this a lot, always make sure that the cutting mat and material that you're looking at here matches the cutting mat and material that you're loading in your machine. So basically what I would do is I would say, okay, I have a 6 by 6 piece of HTV. So now when Silhouette Studio goes to mirror my design, guess what? It's still going to mirror it within this 6 by 6 square. And that is what I want. So because I have come in here and I have changed my settings to 6 by 6, it will mirror it within that 6 by 6 square. So that's the most important thing to remember. And like I said, I always stress it anytime I talk to a beginner, anytime I get a chance to remind you guys, make sure that your page setup panel matches as close as you can get it to the material that you are loading in your machine on your cutting mat. Or if you're not using a cutting mat, make sure that's reflected too. So what you're looking at here, look at your mat. If it doesn't match, then you need to make some adjustments. All right. And for mirroring, that is doubly important because then you will avoid some very common mistakes if you decide to allow Silhouette Studio to mirror the design for you. Now, I do love that feature because even if I decide not to allow Silhouette Studio to mirror for me, it's still a nice reminder. It's kind of a fail-safe to say, hey, you're cutting a material that usually needs to be mirrored. Have you taken care of that? And I'm like, gee, thank you, Silhouette Studio. I appreciate that reminder because sometimes I haven't mirrored it and then I just go back and do it myself. Now, let's also just briefly touch on if I were to change my material type. Let's just say, I don't know, let's change it back to cardstock. It's not going to happen all the time, but every now and then, if I come down here and click send, and I'm not going to because because this will be the one time that it doesn't, and then it's going to try to cut on my Cameo. But every now and then, after you've had it on heat transfer vinyl, that reminder kind of stays in the workflow. So you can come down here and you can hit send and it'll say, hey, have you mirrored? And it kind of throws you off because you're like, wait a minute. I have cardstock chosen. So why is it asking me, do I need to mirror? And for beginners, that can be confusing because, you don't really need those false prompts. I mean, it's confusing enough as it is sometimes. So just know that that prompt is just take it as a reminder. The only thing that you should be mirroring under normal circumstances, when we're talking about cardstock vinyl, HTV, any type of paper or print and cut or, lots and lots of materials, obviously, that you have to choose from. But typically speaking, the only thing that you are going to need to cut mirrored will be heat transfer vinyl because it has the built-in carrier sheet. There are very few other materials that you are going to need to mirror. So if you can just try to remember that, and there are actually a lot of people, that's one of the first decals that they cut, is they will set a reminder on their cutting machine. Now that was more so true back when we had Cameo models that had the flip up lid, because you flip up the lid and boom, there's a reminder that says, did you remember to mirror? Okay. I mean, that's how common it was to forget to mirror your design. So now that the Cameo 4s have the slide up lid, I don't really know if I want a reminder right there on the very front, for everybody to see that, I I have my moments. But you'll see that pretty common. It's actually a pretty common thing to have a reminder in your workspace to also remind you. So that was an improvement a while ago in Silhouette Studio. Definitely give it 2 thumbs up. I think it was a good improvement. And guys, that's really kind of it. So we talked about the difference between mirroring and flipping. They're actually the same exact thing in terms of working with them in Silhouette Studio. It just depends on mirroring is going to create you another copy. Do you need another copy? Probably not. So if you don't need another copy, you can just flip it. And it's easier to do. And if you don't want to have to worry about any of that, you can let the software do it for you. Just make sure that you set up your settings correctly. So lots of really neat things to kind of digest. Hopefully this helps you and answers some of the questions that you have. And, if you have time, make sure you run out there and grab this free gnome design. You can never have too many gnomes. So guys, how did you feel about the flipping, the mirroring, the software? All of that is really, it's kind of overwhelming if you're a beginner, if you're just starting out, especially using heat transfer vinyl and when the software prompts you and when it doesn't and all those sorts of things. So hopefully we clarified some of that for you today. You're going to be more informed going forward and be able to make, those important choices to know when to get the software to do what you need it to do. All right. Now guys, of course, if you have any questions or comments, please make sure you leave those below. I absolutely love hearing from you guys. And of course, if you have any video requests, I'm always very open to doing what I can to bring you the content that you want to see. Of course, if you learned something from the video today, make sure you give that like, subscribe to the channel, share with a crafty friend. All of your amazing support is what keeps the channel going so that we can keep bringing you more videos in the future. So guys, I appreciate it. I appreciate you stopping by today. Like I said, I'm going to wrap it up, but I will see you again next time.